Hi guys and welcome to another video on this channel. Today it's my team career mode season 2 round 3 and we're going around China. I didn't do a single lap around China for I think 3 years now. I think the last time was on the F1 2020 game. I think on F1 2021 and F1 22 China wasn't in the game. So yeah, it's been 3 years since I did a single lap around there. So it's gonna be interesting. If you did miss the previous race around Jeddah, be sure to check this one out, because it was an interesting one. At one point we were in P2, but in the end we crashed out, unfortunately. While we were in P2, we probably wouldn't have kept P2 anyways, but at least we probably would have gotten some points. But now we're here to make it better this race, and we're gonna get some upgrades in as well, so our car should be hopefully better on the performance chart. And we actually caught up massively in the chassis side of things, because we were last with such a big gap to the other cars. But then unfortunately our upgrade failed, so we're still the worst car with chassis. But as I said, we are not that far away from the other cars, so we made good improvement over the last season, and especially at the start of this season. So yeah, hopefully we can make use of it in this race weekend. And as we go to the race weekend, in the weather forecast you can see the race will be in intermediate conditions, and it will be the whole race. So it's gonna be tough on a track where we didn't get any laps in for 3 years, and then we instantly have to perform in the wet. And then in the settings I actually looked for the weather forecast settings, because I think for career mode it's just more exciting to have not a perfect weather radar, so there might happen some surprises and some different things than planned. But yeah, I don't know if I found it, but I definitely found it a few videos after, I guess. So yeah, I think for this race there will be perfect weather forecast, and in some of the next races I will have changed that. but I just couldn't find this setting right now. So yeah, and the failed upgrade, we redid it and it will come in time for Imola. So yeah, and it will come in with 0% failure chance. So that's pretty good. We definitely will have the tire wear upgrade for Imola then. But for this race, we will have to go without it. And I just hope we can mend our tires good. And I mean, especially in the wet, we should be able to do that, because if we don't, one more stop could kill our chance to get points. But let's go into qualifying, where it will be dry. And this turn 1 and 2 and 3 is kind of tricky, but we got it right. I mean, we didn't get it perfectly, but we got it decent. But the Alpine behind us, it's worrying me a little bit. But yeah, we will still try to make the best of our lap. Even though I'm a little bit worried about the Alpine behind me. And to be honest, I don't really know the gears for all the corners. So sometimes I go into a corner with the gear one gear too high or one gear too low. But I will definitely get that sorted out throughout the weekend. And I think for next season I will definitely know the gears for every corner. And I think next season I will have even more pace around here. Because, like I said, I didn't do a single lap in 3 years around here. So a whole race weekend will definitely help.
5 minutes remaining in this session.
To get used to the track, and then for next season we will have the confidence and the knowledge of the track again to go at good pace. But for this weekend it's just surviving, maybe get some points, maybe have some good fights, have some fun around this track. And especially those two very fast corners are so fun to drive. And the long back straight out of this kind of tricky corner, but it's just, if you get it right, it's just so much fun. Even though it's really hard to drive, but it's just fun. And I would love to see another race around this track in real life. I think for 2024 it's planned again. So yeah, next year hopefully we will see a race around this track. And in the end, in Q1 we got through in P15 with 2/10 gap to P17. So we're in Q2 now, and hopefully we can make it through to Q3 and start inside the top 10. because in the rain we will probably go rather backwards than forwards. So yeah, we need to start as high up on the grid as possible. And through this corner, it's normally flat out. I lifted a little bit off the throttle, which definitely cost us a tenth or two. And this moment of oversteer cost us definitely more than a tenth. I think it cost us close to a second, maybe more. I just went on the curb a little bit too much and the car got unsettled, and it was just a big moment of oversteer. And now on the straight we're actually giving the Alfa Romeo behind a good tow, which will not help our chances to go through to Q3, because especially the Alfa Romeo will be one of our concurrents for the last place in the top 10 shootout. And then for our last lap in Q2 we're actually in P16, which is kinda what I expected after this big slide out of turn 10. So yeah, we definitely have to make up some time. But through the first sector we're down by 3/10, and into turn 6 it's even more. And again, we don't go flat out through the left-hander. And then now into turn 10 we go. I avoid the curb a little bit, and we gained 6/10, even more than 7/10 on the lap before. So now we're gonna have to get some more time probably out of the last 2 turns, and hopefully we can make it through to Q3 with that. So we're on course for 34.8 or even 34.7, and in the end we are P11 with a 34.5. We are 2/10 behind the Williams of Alex Albon. So yeah, unfortunately we didn't get through to Q3, and we will start the race in P11, and hopefully even with the rain we can move forward to get some points. But let's go to the grid and see what we can do in the end.
It's time again then for Formula One in Shanghai, northwest of the thriving city of over 24 million people. Is a circuit that first featured in the championship calendar back in 2004. It played host to Formula One's 1000th Grand Prix back in 2019. The ever-tightening turns of 1 and 2 will prove tricky in the slippery conditions here in Shanghai, and anyone that slides wide will lose a lot of time getting back on track. Turn 14 should still be the best place for overtaking, but we'll have to see some improvement in the weather before the drivers can take advantage of that DRS assistance. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen, Stroll, Perez, Albon, the owner driver, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Ocon, Bottas, Magnussen, Sonoda, Sargent, and Nick de Vries. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Well, it's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are three big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
So, as I said, it's raining in the race. So, not much we can do with the strategy. Nothing smart to maybe undercut some other people, or maybe do a stop less to get track position. It's just gonna be one pit stop for pretty much everyone.
Launch map is good, but we need to learn the gears, so go into each one
So
when you can.
we will have to move forward just on raw pace and overtaking skills. So not gonna be easy, especially in the wet,
Decent
where
marking.
I'm
Let's
not
try and get a good launch as the lights
particularly
go out.
fast. But let's see what we can do in this race. And at the first moment we get a bad getaway, and then we try to go around the outside of Perez and Albon, but instead Piastri went down our inside, and I really felt like they were going really slow, but I thought it was just because of they were going side by side through the first two corners. But then now they're not too wide anymore and they're still very slow. So at this moment I knew something was definitely not right.
Okay, now stay alert for threats around you.
I mean, the pace advantage I had in the wet, where I'm really not that fast. It was just weird to have that kind of pace advantage, and we even did a purple second sector while overtaking two cars, which just seemed a little bit weird to me. And as we overtake Leclerc, we're actually in P5 after not even a lap. And now we move up to P4. I probably could have gotten Russell as well, but I didn't want to make any stupid dives. And then into the last corner we get Russell anyways. So now we're in the podium positions. And we're gonna attack Alonso into turn 2 and 3, which didn't quite work. But then into turn 6 with the purple first sector, we make a dive on Alonso and actually locked up a little bit,
Good job, nice overtake.
but we still kept it in front of him. And then now we're in P2 and the only one ahead of us is Hamilton, but we overtake him so easily. And I definitely knew something wasn't right with the AI. It was a little bit bugged.
Burn off some
So yeah, now in lap 2 we are leading the race, and at the end of lap 2 we already got a gap of 6 seconds to Lewis Hamilton. And then on lap 3 we had a big snap of oversteer, went off track and lost a few seconds, but with a gap of 14 seconds already it didn't really matter. And then on lap 9 we overtook the first back markers, as I think it was Joe turned in a little bit too much, and to avoid contact I had to take a track limit warning. And then on lap 11, 3 laps earlier than planned, we had to make our first stop because our tires were already on over 70%, and if I did one more lap I would have been in puncture regions, and I didn't want to risk that in a race where we're leading by over a minute. So we can afford to lose 20 seconds, but we can't afford to go maybe a whole lap with the punctured tire, because we would probably lose way more than 20 seconds there, and we maybe would have even lost our lead if we had a puncture in turn 1, for example. And then on lap 17 Nick de Vries retired out of the race because of an engine failure, and the virtual safety car came out. And Russell actually used that to pit under the safety car, and Stroll did as well. And one McLaren and one, I think it's Alpine, did as well. And at this moment in lap 18, I actually thought I threw away an easy win. I had a big snap of oversteer, and then in lap 19 there's a red flag without any reason. Like literally there was no crash, no spin, nothing on the whole track, but for some reason they just red flagged the race. Maybe I was too far ahead and they decided to take my advantage away to make the race more exciting. I don't know. And then on the restart, actually we had a little bit of wheel spin and the car got sideways a little bit, and at first I thought Alonso might overtake us, but in the end, out of turn 3 we already have a 1.7 second gap again. So yeah, I don't know what happened with the II, but in the end, on the last lap, we have 1 minute and 23 seconds gap to the car behind, to Alonso in P2, and we actually lapped some back markers again, actually our teammate too. So yeah, I don't know what happened to the AI, but it was really bugged and they were way too slow. And with almost lapping everyone again after the red flag, we have now only 2 corners to go, and I decided to go around the outside of the Haas. He didn't put up any fight, because why would he? And then I actually wanted to get the Alfa Romeo on the line but he was half a car length ahead, so we didn't lap him. But it's still P1 with more than 90 seconds lead, I think.
What do you think it was today,
And it's just crazy. And like I said, I don't know what happened to the AI, but it was just really bugged today.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
So in the end, that's 26 points for us in the standings, and there you can see we were 13 seconds quicker than the second quickest lap, which just there you can see it's just bugged. And in the driver standings, we're actually P6 now. We won't stay that high up in the standings, and in the constructors in P5. We probably won't be there at the end of the season unless we can massively improve our car. But well, I mean, it's not our goal to be in P5 in the constructors for this season. I think our goal is to be in P7 or 8, around that. But we had a really lucky race today, and see you guys next time for hopefully a not bugged race, and goodbye.